The following is paid programming.
It's time to talk taxes.
New friends, new opportunities, new partners. EG Tax.
It's Ask the Tax Lady with Esther Gulius and EG Tax on News Radio 930 WBEN. To reach Esther now, call 803-0930. Toll free at 1-800-616-9236. And cell calls are free at star 930. And now, live from the WBEN studios, it's Esther Gulius.
Hey, everybody, this is the Tax Lady, and this is our hour to talk about taxes and other pressing financial things that we talk about this time of year. And I'm joined in studio with Chris Fabian. Hey, Chris, how are you doing?
Hello, Esther. I'm
Hello,
doing
Chris.
good on this wonderful, rainy, downpouring day. But hey, it's not snow, so I'll take it.
Amen. Amen. And Tiffany Fabian. Hey, Tiff.
Hey there, Esther. Happy Saturday.
Happy Saturday to you. And we're going to talk about something later on in the show that really touches a lot of people's hearts. I know it touches mine because this kind of situation has happened in my own life. And we have a special guest that we're going to introduce a little later who's going to talk about caregiving. And for those of you that have had loved ones who all of a sudden you find yourself having to be responsible for somebody's day-to-day existence and what that means to the family. And I will tell you, if you're somebody that finds that you're helping a relative, a friend, a spouse, maybe you're in the middle of needing assistance, this is a show you certainly want to listen to. We have a special guest that's going to be with us, Roxanne Sorensen she's an aging and life specialist, and we're going to find out things that you can do, tangible things that you can do to help the person you're caring for, to help yourself, because many people don't even realize that the caregiver has a lot of stress put on them. So we're talking about that a little later. Right now, we wanted to talk about a couple things about taxes, since this is our tax show. I wanted to talk about one of the things that the IRS is doing. Tiff, did you want to tell everybody about the way that they're holding up refunds?
Yeah, there's so many clients I've been helping, and these are people who get earned income credits and who really depend on their refunds, and they're like $6,000-$7,000 refunds, and they're not getting their refunds, and that's because the W-2s that they put on their tax return are not matching what the IRS has at the IRS, and so they're not giving the refunds because it doesn't match. So if they might have put XYZ W-2 for $15,000 and the IRS doesn't have XYZ W-2, so they're not releasing the refund until they make it match. And so the letter that they're getting is, you don't have to do anything. Give us 60 to 90 days. We're going to notify or contact the employer to get a copy of the W-2. And so a lot of these people are getting really antsy, and they're actually giving the W-2s to the IRS. But it's just a slow, arduous process. This is something New York State has been doing for a while, and I guess the IRS, the federal, is jumping on board. But it's people who really need their refund, and so it's really been painful.
So if you haven't gotten your refund, should they call the IRS to find out if this is their situation? So when they were inputting their information, they might have typed it wrong?
No, I just think what we're noticing is that the employer somehow screwed up and didn't get the W-2 to the IRS in a timely fashion, or maybe the IRS filed it in the wrong place.
A glitch in the electronic filing of the W-2s. I mean, I know I was just on the phone the other day with a client, and they're like, I know, I got this letter, I gave it to them, they sent it over a month ago, and I just want to call the IRS to see if they got it. And we called the IRS, and they're like, oh, well, we still have no record of it. And she's like, but my employer faxed it over twice to where it said to go. How do you not have it?
Well, unfortunately, you rely on the employer to do the 941s properly.
Right.
So sometimes if you have an employer who is holding back the 941s, maybe they don't have the money to pay the FICA or the taxes, that could be very telling as well.
Well, yeah, because a lot of times I've noticed it to be little employers, and so not big employers, and so that really makes your antennas go up. And then another thing is that I've been noticing, Chris has been noticing this too. We'll do an amendment and they're supposed to get $2,500, but they're getting checks for $5,000 because the IRS has messed up their software or their bookkeeping, but they actually they changed their tax liability, and then they gave them the credit of $2,500. So they're only supposed to get a check for $2,500, but they're getting a check for $5,000. You noticed one of those too, right, Chris?
Yeah, we're seeing that a lot with people who got the lovely 8962 letters, 1095As. We need the copy of them, and so we're saying, okay, well, you didn't report it. You're going to end up owing $300, and then the IRS, we send everything in, and they say, oh, here's your check for $5,223. It's like they're just giving away money that's not right, and you got to tell the people don't spend it because they're going to come back to you with more than that you owe them.
And so I think that ties in nicely what Esther says. This IRS is updating their software and making.
So the other day, a couple days ago, Trump just signed a new bill into law, really targeting the IRS, who now has to be more disciplined in their collection actions. There's a brand new Office of Appeals that's been set up to help the taxpayers so that the IRS can't go off and auction off their home and their bank account. There's extra protection for low-income people. So that's just been initiated the other day. And it was a bipartisan bill, and it's one of the most sweeping changes in the IRS's procedures that has happened in a long time.
That's
Yep,
right.
they want to try to get
but
them.
the bottom line is, if you're getting letters from the IRS, you can call EG Tax. Even if we haven't prepared the return, we will help you, and the state of New York, whether we prepare the return or not, we're there to help you. There's no charge for us to take a look at your correspondence and explain what the problem is and help you with that situation.
You
right?
know, as Esther, as the person who's in charge of offers and compromises, I love to hear that the bill that President Trump passed, that there's more protection for the person. The IRS is the largest debt collector there is, and so it's always good to hear that there's more flexibility, because people are very petrified. I mean, it's just a terrible thing.
Well, and there's some horror stories about some of the things the IRS has done to people, because if you have a bank, if you have deposits in your business account of over $10,000, they can say that that is an improper deposit, and as a result, they used to have the power to go off and do a collection, because while you're proving where the $10,000 came from, and it could have been completely legal, but and so this change in the law is for the consumer, and it's a very good change in the law.
Yep.
Right? All right. Well, now this is the rest of the show is going to be devoted to our special guest. We have Roxanne Sorensen. She is an aging life care specialist, and I will tell you a little story about my own mom. She was early 90s, young girl, doing great, had a UTI, urinary tract infection. All of a sudden, she went from being somebody who liked to go shopping and do stuff, she became completely unable to do anything. She spent a couple weeks in the hospital. When she came out, she wasn't the same mom that I knew, and she couldn't do her pills. She couldn't take care of herself. All of a sudden, she became completely dependent upon me, and I became the only caregiver that she had, and so it's such a daunting experience. And so that's one of the reasons why we have Roxanne here, who's going to explain about what a caregiver options are, what her business entails, and if you are somebody that is taking care of somebody, whether it be your spouse, your aunt, your uncle, your husband, wife, mother, grandmother, and you need help, you can give us a call, 803-0930, 803-0930, star 930 on a cell phone. You can text us at 3930. Roxanne is a specialist. We're going to take in aging, and we're going to take a short break. We'll be back with Roxanne and your questions on the other side. Hey, I'm Esther Gullias, the tax lady from EG Tax. We have a special guest in studio, and I'm going to tell you, if you're somebody that has a parent, that has a spouse, if you're alive, this could happen to you, and we're so thankful that we have our special guest, Roxanne Sorensen, in studio. Roxanne, thanks for coming in.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
So you were one of our special guests when we did our Ready, Set, Retire seminar, and you were there with all kinds of great information. And the thing is, doing taxes, we see all people in all different stages of life. And sometimes you see somebody that was thriving, and all of a sudden you can see that they're starting to not do so well. And you say, how do you get your food? You can't drive anymore. And so you can see that, and they rely on caregivers, and that's kind of what your specialty is. You're there to kind of step in and help people so that they can live the best kind of life that they possibly can.
Our goal is to keep somebody as independent as possible. So my team consists of nurses and social workers, and what we do is a comprehensive assessment of that individual's needs. So we're looking at 5 key principles that we've integrated into our company, which is safety is number 1, their environment. You have to see how the person is living. Is it cluttered? Have they had food? Is the mail piling up? Is it neat? There's all variables that go into someone's environment. Their medical component, how many medications are they on? How many issues do they have? Then we look at the psychosocial needs. Is there a touch of dementia or memory loss? Could it just be a urinary tract infection that makes someone confused? Is there any mental health components? And then the final one is financial. Everything we do in our society is driven by money. Can they afford to bring services into the home? What does that look like? How do you extend the dollar? Do we need to apply for benefits such as VA or Medicaid? Do they need placement? Again, what are those costs? So we're trying to put a comprehensive plan together for that person and then guide them in the right direction.
I'm Esther Golias, the tax lady from EG Tax. If you are somebody that's a caregiver, if you're somebody that has just gone through this with a loved one and you'd like to share your story, give us a call, 803-0930, 803-0930, star 930 on a cell phone, or you can text us at 3930. So, Roxanne, there are so many people that they're so afraid to reach out because they don't know about how much it's going to cost. They don't know if they have any money. They're afraid somebody's going to make them leave their home. I'm sure you see that all the time.
I do, and the biggest concern is, the big one is, if I go to the hospital, I'm never going back home. That's not always true. What we need to do is come up with a solid plan. So even sitting down to just pre-plan, a one-time meeting can go a long way. Families can brainstorm. We don't come in and start telling that 90-year-old how to start living their life. They've lived for 90 years.
Right.
How do we enhance what you already have? How can we make life a little bit easier? Maybe you don't need to be walking up and down those basement stairs doing laundry. Maybe you could still fold it after, or maybe a companion or an aide brings it up and you put it away.
Oh, I was going to say my mother-in-law went to the hospital a few times, and when she got home, the kids had a really good idea. Her washer and dryer used to be downstairs in the basement, but they took one of the extra bedrooms upstairs and converted it to, you guys didn't even do a lot of work, right, Chris? But they put the washer and dryer upstairs.
On the one floor.
And the one floor, and she said it's the best thing that's ever happened.
Absolutely.
She said it was a great idea.
Sometimes it's baby steps.
Right.
We're not going in to change a person's life entirely. Now, if it is an unsafe situation, then we have to make it safe. There are times where I have to be the bad guy, and
Right.
I'm okay being the bad guy and taking the pressure off the family. I will say, unfortunately, assisted living or a nursing home is the only option, and here is how we can do it, but which ones can we look at? What is the affordability of them? Can we start small by putting some services in the home and working our way through? Or maybe you're in rehab, you broke your hip, now they're saying, well, you need 24-hour care. Well, maybe step 1 is we go to assisted living for a period of time. Let's see how you do. If you're still doing really well, we can bring you home with services. It doesn't have to be all or nothing. We can do it in step increments.
Right.
And we're still asking them to be a vital part of the conversation because it's still their life.
Yep.
So who is it that generally calls you? And by the way, your phone number is 823-1476. 823-1476 is her phone number. Who is it that calls? Is it the caregiver, the kids? Is it the patient? And how do people even find you?
Most of the time it's that child or maybe the niece or nephew who are taking care of that loved one. It's the people that we now call the sandwich generation, like myself, who have children that they're trying to run around town with, work full time, and then take care of their loved one. Those are my typical calls, and they're typically in crisis. Someone's in an ER type setting being told that they have to now take care of mom and dad or find placement. It's always that crisis call. Not a lot of families do pre-planning because we're of the mentality it's not going to happen to me, except that stroke happens or that heart attack or that car accident. And then we scramble because then we find out we don't have power of attorney documents. We don't find out we have healthcare proxy, and we don't even know what our parents make. So we're trying to do a lot of major life decisions while you're emotional. What I tell families to try to do is call us ahead. There's nothing wrong with even talking 5-10 years in advance for those what-if moments. You will have at least a foundation and direction of what to do next instead of being caught in that crisis-type setting. A lot of people who are single should pre-plan. Who's going to pay your bills if you're in the hospital? Who's going to help you make some of those most important decisions? You don't want to have a guardianship. Those cost tens of thousands of dollars. Sometimes a simple friend might be your advocate.
Yeah.
So it sounds like what your company does is it really is a bridge over troubled waters. A lot of people are, ignorant to the fact that if you really don't have much money, you can become a Medicaid recipient, and most everything is going to be covered.
And that's not exactly true. Medicaid is a process. You have to qualify by your income and your assets. It's very confusing. Annuities and IRAs are considered income versus an asset. What can you shelter? What can't you shelter? Then in a nursing home type setting, you have a 5-year look back. I don't know about you, but I don't always remember what I spent last week, let alone in 2014, right? And now we're asking for 5 years of accountability. And, the government is saying, we'll help you, but you need to spend your money first. And that doesn't always happen. Sometimes, we shelter it, we gift it, and we see a lot right now, and you may also, a lot of grandparents are giving money to grandchildren for their college.
Right.
Well, if you now are institutionalized a year later, that's a gift. That's a transfer of assets, and I don't think that grandchild is going to be able to give that money back. So you now have to come up with paying that nursing home privately.
Well, let me clarify. So there are a lot of people that don't have assets and just have very little money that might think they can't get nursing home care.
But they can.
The truth is you do qualify.
Correct. What happens is it's an application process, and sometimes families will try this on their own, and it is complicated. Right now, all the counties are inundated with all of these individuals applying. It will take months. It could take up to a year just to get your Medicaid benefit, especially for skilled nursing. You have to know what they're going to look for. You need to know what the government is requesting. So someone even low income can get Medicaid, but you have to go through the process. And again, it's time consuming. So what are you going to do in the meantime for the services?
So
I work with a lot of nursing homes that will let somebody in Medicaid pending, depending on the circumstance.
Roxanne, what does somebody do if there is a critical situation where somebody can't be on their own and they really need to be in a nursing home situation and they're Medicaid pending? What happens in that situation?
A lot of times you might find that person is brought to a hospital type setting, and then they stay in the hospital until placement is found. And that discharge planner is saying, okay, well, out of all these buildings, this one that maybe you didn't agree to is willing to take you. You only have the right of first refusal. After that, you will go within a 50-mile radius. When people hire our company, we're vetting you. We're looking at your finances as quickly as possible. We're putting our reputation against that other person, and we're going to do the Medicaid. So those nursing homes might be more apt to look at our person a lot differently than coming right off of the street. A lot of nursing homes will do what's called an ER diversion, where if it's just short-term rehab, they might bring you in, do the rehab, and then they're stabilizing you and sending you home. It's all circumstantial. It depends on each person, and it's so different building to building.
I'm Esther Gullius, the tax lady from EG Tax. We have special guest Roxanne Sorensen with us today. She's an aging life care specialist. And if you have someone that you're the caregiver of, or a parent, or like she said, niece, nephew, and you would like to talk to Roxanne, call us at 803-0930, 803-0930, star 930 on a cell phone. You can text us at 3930. And Roxanne, what's the typical situation that somebody calls you? I mean, is everybody or most people in trauma?
I would say 9 out of 10 calls, it's a crisis. Our rates of calls increase at holiday time, or maybe the children come in on vacation. They haven't seen mom and dad in several months. It's easy to say yes and no questions and answers over the phone, because a lot of children are out of state.
And they can hide it.
They can hide it. Now you walk in the door and you're like, oh my God, what just happened? So we're getting those phone calls, especially during those time frames. But, every day something changes in a person's life. A simple infection can cause increased dementia or set off an exacerbation of behaviors and issues. There really isn't a reason not to call us. I mean, we look at everything involving that person's lives. I am someone that lives it myself. My parents live 3 hours away. If something happens to them, my husband has to take care of my children. My company needs to run itself, and I'm going to get on the road to go take care of what they need.
Okay. I'm Esther Gullius, the tax lady from EG Tax. We're talking about elder planning. We're talking about life care specialties. We have a special guest, Roxanne Sorensen. We're going to be taking a short break for the news. We'll be back with your questions on the other side. Hey, I'm Esther Gullius, the tax lady, and we're talking about a real important subject. We're talking about aging and the care that people give to the loved ones that are in their lives, and some of the confusion about what to do and what you can afford to do and who has to take care of what, and what do you do with mom, or what do you do with auntie, or what do you do with dad, all those kind of things. And we have a special guest, Roxanne Sorensen, and she's our special guest in studio. Our phone number is 803-0930, 803-0930, star 930 on a cell phone. She's a wealth of knowledge. You can text us at 3930. So, Roxanne, is there you say that everybody's supposed to do this in advance. What does it cost to do that initial consultation with your firm?
A consult for us is $125 an hour. Usually a family come in for about an hour at a time, and if they want to hire us, then we enter into a contract with them with a refundable $300 retainer. That money is given back to them at the end of our relationship, and we also sign consents because everything we do is confidential. We have to make sure we maintain all of those rules and regulations, especially because we're going through all of their finances when we do that 5-year look back.
Okay. So now the thing is, I mean, for very little money, you can do this, but do the kids feel like they're betraying their parents?
No, we actually have families who will just come in where mom and dad are not involved. They just want to come in and brainstorm some ideas.
Which is a great idea.
Yeah, they feel paralyzed. They just want some guidance and direction.
And planning before it's too late.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, you don't want your back against the wall when you're, making these decisions. You want to do it wise and smart from the beginning.
Right. And we don't encroach on that elder person's rights.
Right.
Sometimes we just walk in and we may simply just put a lifeline device in as a meet and greet. It's also about trust. I am a stranger walking into their home, into their facility, trying to, tell them or try to guide them. So we want to make it comfortable for them. And I also tell the children, your parents have a right to fail.
Yeah.
Sometimes we can't force them to do anything, but you will be prepared for the next steps.
That's right.
So if you have a very stubborn parent, which we know there's a whole bunch out there.
Yes.
But not me.
Not you, and not my mom. But so the children, like you just said, could actually start the ball rolling without their parent being involved.
Absolutely.
And then slowly introduce you to the parent to try to get the whole.
A lot of our families do it that way. We'll do a pre-consult first, and then maybe we might go in a week, months, maybe even a year later. It's really customized family to family.
I will tell you, one of the things I preach on this show every Saturday, well, not every Saturday, but many Saturdays, is getting ready for getting older. I mean, because at our Ready, Set, Retire seminar, and that's why you were one of our special guests there. If you don't pass away, you're going to get older. If you get older, there's challenges of getting older. And that's why I think it's so important that you are as prepared as possible. Things change.
Absolutely.
A river changes, and life is like a river. You always got to try to be one step ahead of everything.
Well,
we
think of it this way.
Again, 8030930, 8030930, star 930 on a cell phone. Text us at 3930, and we have Nathan from Clarence. Hi, Nate. How can we help you?
Hi, I have a question. What do I need to do if my mom needs an aide in her home to help with her around the house, but she can't afford it?
That's a good question.
That is a good question. Well, what we'd first look at is what type of aid are we talking about? If we're talking about a companion, which is no hands-on type care, so they're not going to be able to physically assist someone with their toileting and their showering, versus someone that's a actual home care agency aide where they'll do all of the personal care, you're looking at roughly today's rates at $27 an hour. A lot of people who may not be able to afford that might put ads in the paper to find a private aide. That might not always be the way you want to go. There are some staffing agencies out there that also provide aides at a lower rate. We always are cautious on who goes in no matter what agency. You want to make sure they have a foundation and system, because if someone is supposed to be there at 6 a.m., 7 a.m., or even 8 a.m. to get mom and dad ready, and they don't show, who's going to take care of them?
So, Nate, is it a companion one, or where they would actually have to help with showering and toileting and activities of daily living? Do you know?
Yeah, it would be more hands-on with activities around the house.
So what'll happen is if mom or dad, whoever the person is, qualifies for Medicaid, we would go through the Medicaid process. Again, though, you're looking at anywhere from 3 to 6 months for someone in the community to get services. So a lot of times the families will upfront that cost to keep mom or dad home. And that's where sometimes the difficult decision comes in. And my statement to them is, you may not be able to keep mom or dad home. We may need to look at placement. Here are those options. And we go to that direction versus, bringing in those inside services. But if dad was a veteran, they might be entitled to VA aid and attendance benefits. That only takes a couple months, so maybe you're only looking at a 3-month window versus a 6-month window, and that's accessible monies that you can pay for home care services.
Awesome.
I'm Esther Gullius,
Good
the
question.
tax
Thank
lady
you.
from EG Tax, 8030930, 8030930, star 930 on a cell phone.
Well,
you can text us at 3930.
I had a question, too.
Yes, sir.
I follow up to what you were just saying. What if dad predeceased mom, but dad was the military member? Would mom still be entitled to some VA benefits? Would that help?
Yes, there's 3 qualifiers. If she's a widow and not remarried, then or divorced, they could not be divorced. If they are, she's not entitled to any benefits. If he's deceased, she has to meet the 3 criteria. Dad had to serve during wartime, and there's specific time frames for each conflict. You have to have the assistance of another person, so it could be someone in the family, and there's an affidavit that would be completed along with, or if they're receiving home care through a private individual or agency, and then they have to have assets below $124,000. Now, the assets that are not counted are your home, burial, or life insurance.
Okay. So there are options for them.
See, and this is what's so important, I feel, about a show like today. People don't. Who would have thunk, if you're the widow of a guy that was in World War II, that maybe you'd be able to get some help because of your relationship with your spouse who passed away.
Yeah, yeah. I mean that, and there's a lot of. I mean, we with the Memorial Day that just was, and
4th of July.
4th of July, right? But we all talk about the veterans themselves, but what about their spouses?
Right.
And this is a nice aid
Absolutely.
for a spouse of a veteran.
And we use it a lot to keep somebody in the
text,
home.
right?
Yep. Yep. The first one is what is the name and phone number of your guest, which is really easy. This is Roxanne Sorensen, and her phone number is 716-823-1476. And then the second question is the Medicaid half a loaf provision still in effect?
I'm not sure what half a loaf means, I'll be honest, and I've been doing Medicaid a long time. So I'm not really sure what that is.
I'm thinking that what they're this is Medicaid. I don't
Right.
know. So you Roxanne is a specialist and she doesn't know, but they can call you on Monday.
Please, yeah,
right?
absolutely.
I'm going to reach out to Tim to see if he knows.
I'm going to have to look up that myself, but I've never heard of a half a loaf provision. I do know, there's no gifting, no sheltering of assets within the 5-year look back. I know a lot of people do trusts and in-life planning with elder law attorneys, and that sometimes becomes a barrier when doing placement, but not sure. But I will look into that.
But
Please
again,
give me
you
a
can
call.
call Roxanne at 823-1476, and you can bet that we'll have the answer Monday, too, because we're going to look
Absolutely.
up what half a loaf is. I know a half a loaf of bread is if you already used it,
Right.
Well,
and Esther, what I wanted to say too is you were mentioning how we're aging in place. We really are, because 80 is the new 60. We're outliving our money. We have people that are living in their hundreds, and they don't have the funds to take care of themselves because all that money is gone. So then what do you do next? And the VA money that we were discussing is a great provision to keep somebody home. It does follow you to assisted living. Once you go on Medicaid, though, the monies decrease. Medicaid is a good benefit once you're actually through the system, because you can have the Medicaid component with the home care where they'll bring the services in.
all right. Hey, Tiff, we have any other texts?
It says, Roxanne, I know you said 125 initial costs, but what does a typical amount cost for the length of service? I'm in desperate need of help, but I do not have money to help with her. My mother is in the hospital right now. She has fallen 3 times in the last 4 months. The hospital has not let her go home. I'm not sure what to do. She does not have Medicaid. Am I responsible for paying? I cannot afford your services. What do I do?
No, the person who texted in, no, you are not physically responsible for any of her care needs or costs. What'll happen is if she's not able to go home, what they're going to do is ask you for a list of facilities that she might be entitled to go to, assisted or skilled. And then that building, if she qualifies, could apply for Medicaid if they do that. But a lot of the buildings do refer to our agency to do the Medicaid application process. What I've done in the past for many clients, and it all depends on circumstance, as owner, I've changed my rate, I've reduced my rate. There isn't anybody we don't turn away. I would encourage you to give us a call, and we'll try to take as much information over the phone and give you some guidance and direction. And if it's something we can help you with, we will.
I know that's a real problem where they won't let them go home until they make provisions or additions to their household, until they get a Hoyer lift, until they get services. I mean, nursing homes just won't let them go home, right?
They can't without it being a safe discharge.
Without being
the
a
same
safe
with the hospital.
Right. So they have to actually go to their house and make sure.
No, the facility won't go out and check. They're
Does a
relying
social
on the
worker
family
and the
to
family
say that they have the equipment or the services in place. But in a hospital, if you as a family are saying that you can't take that loved one home, they're going to get placed
right
within those 50 plus facilities in the area.
And what happens if they won't let them go home, but they say, the family says, I'm going to bring them home anyways?
They can. You go against medical advice. You're not going to get certified home care through agencies like WillCare, VNA, Amedisys,
Okay.
Catholic Health. You're actually cutting your nose to spite your face by doing it that way.
Okay.
But I will tell you, it's daunting because all of a sudden they're asking you, well, what nursing home do you want your mother to go to?
Right, and
what
then
do you mean, what nursing home do I want my mother to go to?
Right, and you
I
never
don't
step
know
foot.
what nursing home. I mean, I didn't study nursing homes
Right.
and who's good and who's not, or who's number one. I mean, it's just really a daunting time. And that's why we thought it was so important to have you on, Roxanne, and we're so thankful that you're here. If your situation is your caregiving, or you have a family member that you're thinking, oh my gosh, this is going to fall to me, give us a call with your story, 8030930, 8030930, star 930 on a cell phone, and you can text us at 3930, and we have Jetty waiting, right, Tiff?
Jerry.
Jerry. I see Jetty, but okay, Jerry.
Sorry.
All right.
Hi, Jerry.
Hi, I am an aging parent, and I have a question regarding the 5-year look back. Thinking of my children, what sort of documents should we save to help them out with this process?
You're going to save almost everything, Jerry. And I mean your birth certificate, your marriage license, if your spouse passes away, their death certificate, discharge records, if someone was in the military. Keep a file folder of even just some basic paperwork of what your current bank statement is, if you have any life insurance, annuities, IRAs, stocks, bonds, anything that might play a factor in aging. So if you even make a cheat sheet of all of that information, who your financial planner was, if you have an elder law attorney, it really is a guide for your family in the future and for yourself so that you know where everything is, and that way they have a foundation to build off of. When we apply for Medicaid, if someone walks into our office and says, I don't know what anything my mom or dad have, what'll happen is we'll still send that Medicaid application in. The county is going to do their own research. They're going to put the information in a database, just like the IRS has access to your accounts. They're going to spit it back to us and say, well, maybe you have an M&T account, a Key Bank account, a Citizens account. Oh, and by the way, there's a life insurance at John Hancock. It's then our responsibility to obtain all that information.
Should she also start keeping her monthly bank statement, and with her withdrawals or her checks, keep track of where they went to make that 5-year look back go smoother instead of backtracking?
They don't have to, unless they're going to do it on their own. If they do the application on their own, yes. But if they hire a company like ours, we're going to get all those documents for them. The banks will give it to us for free. We don't get charged when we request the 5-year look back. Even when families hand it to me, I'm probably reordering it anyway, because there's usually going to be something missing, and it's easier to have a full stack of documents than piecemeal it together.
Hey, I'm Esther Goulias, the tax lady from EG Tax. We're here to help you with your taxes and all those other pertinent things that kind of fall under the tax umbrella, because obviously we do the health insurance and we are talking to clients all the time, and aging and taking care of your parents or aunts or uncles becomes part of the equation. And we're here. We have Roxanne Sorensen here, that's a special aging life care specialist. And we're going to take a short break and be back on the other side with your questions. Well, this is funky music because sometimes life can be funky, and so as a result, we need Roxanne Sorensen's special gifting to help people as we all age and things become more complicated, and all of a sudden things can change. My girlfriend her mom was in perfect shape, and the other day she said to me, my mom had a stroke and she's now in a nursing home, and and then she recovered and they brought her home and everything. And a lot of the things that fall to the family members, they have no idea what to do with it. And we're so thankful that Roxanne is here. Her phone number is 823-1476, 823-1476 if you need her help during the week. I will tell you, this reminds me of people that like to do their own taxes. Like, you want to do this by yourself? I mean, here is this very complicated, what am I going to do to help mom the best I can? And I don't know what I'm doing, but I think I'm going to do it by myself. So, it doesn't make any sense.
It's really funny. We keep saying mom.
I know, because women outlive men. I mean, let's face it, they do. So many times it is mom. But we got another text, Steph.
Yep, it says, how does a person in Medicare rehab qualify for more than 21 days? I know they're entitled to 100, but none of our relatives ever get more than 21 days.
The insurance companies are what's dictating the days. So the first 20 days are covered under Medicare. So they're covered at 100%. 21 to 100 are covered now as a copay. So once you become the 21st day, the insurance companies are looking at you to determine, are you making any type of progress? You really need to advocate, and you have a right to appeal any decision that is given, and they have a certain time frame that they have to return the response. I would challenge the insurance companies to make sure that you're getting the full maximum benefit. You have to also encourage the person in rehab to continue to try to make progress. If I'm someone in rehab and I'm saying, no, I don't want to go to therapy today, they're going to mark it down that I'm refusing.
Right.
After a few refusals, they're going to cut off my insurance, and they're going to say either that person's now long-term or they've plateaued, and now here's what the next steps are.
Right.
But you have a right to advocacy. We also do come in to the facilities as friend, not foe, to be an advocate. We'll work with the therapy teams and the social workers and the nurses, and we'll try to also get that insurance company to relook at that individual. And a lot of times we are able to get more time. Other times it is spot on, and that person cannot progress any further than what they are. There's also the human emotion factor. We are emotionally attached to our loved one, of course. We may not see the broader picture. So what we'll do is we'll look at that whole picture and try to bring everyone to the same consensus.
But I think you're right. So many people don't confront the Medicaid or Medicare decision and appeal it and try to appeal it.
But Tiff, it just goes down to what I said in the first place. How do you know where to do it? I mean, what do? Stand on the corner and say I'm appealing?
No, there's forms
you
through
don't
the
know.
business office. There are forms, and they do provide that information when they say they're going to start stopping.
Yeah, they mail you
benefits.
information. When they say they're going to stop
Correct.
benefits, they say, but if you want to appeal, this is how you do it.
Right. There's a whole form. They even hand it to you. They mail it.
But in the
So there's two
meantime, what
steps.
happens to your loved one?
They're still in the rehab. They're either
All
going
right,
to
so
transition.
they don't put them out in the hallway
Correct.
and say you're on your own.
Correct. They're
Right?
still there during that right of appeal. Correct.
All right, well, let's go to Patty. Hi, Patty. How can we help you?
Hi, I was driving home from the store, and my son has been just inundated the past 6 months with taking care of his father, who's in his early 60s and who has been deemed, he is an alcoholic. He hasn't had a drink in quite a while, but all the facilities he was in thinking he was drunk, it was his diabetes and his lack of remembering things, because they just determined that he has dementia in the beginning of Alzheimer's. So my son has been going nuts. He's had him in 3 rehab facilities, and after so many days, they say he's fine. That's because he's getting the care and the medicine, and he has 24-hour care. And he is in subsidized housing, his father, and right now he had him in Humboldt, downtown Buffalo, and my son's uncle, his father's brother, took him out without my son's knowledge. And the question I have is, my son does have power of attorney over his bills because he was scammed because of his memory loss from a woman where he lives out of a lot of his money every month. He just received a bill from Humboldt because his uncle took him out without his knowledge, and his name, not his father's name, that he's responsible for it. He is trying to get him back in there because he cannot care for himself, and my son works a different shift all the time at his job. Is my son responsible for his bill?
No. Your ex-husband is responsible for that bill, and most likely Humboldt would be applying for Medicaid for him to cover the cost of the nursing home stay. Now, there's a couple scenarios going on there. His brother took him out of the facility. Did he have the right to do that? Because if your son is the power of attorney, then he would be the one only making those decisions. So that's one circumstance that has to be reviewed.
And so he took him out without my son's knowledge, and my son found out the next day when the Lancaster police called him saying they found his father wandering on the streets, not knowing where he lived, who he was, and because my son had put his number on something on his, possession, he took him back to his house, and this is what he's been dealing with nonstop, and he's just afraid that something's going to happen to him. When trying to get him back into another facility, he's on Medicare because he's on Social Security disability. He's got a supplemental basic plan from Independent Health, but nobody will help my son. I mean, he tried to do the New York State of Health. They rejected it. He's called Erie County. They just told him they'll send him an application for Medicaid locally. And he's just so inundated. I don't know if I should have him privately call you, Roxanne, and maybe you can guide him in the right direction. I've been trying. This is my ex-husband. He is still legally married to another woman who's abandoned him.
It sounds very complicated. I would tell you, Patty, to have him call me because he does have some options, some legal options, and If Humboldt's willing to reconsider him to go back in, that might be a good, safe environment for him. They might also have already started the Medicaid process for him. They do it on site. So definitely have your son give me a call so he gets some guidance and direction on that, because you have some legal issues also happening there.
Yeah, and the sad thing is he took the uncle out, and he's not safe in the environment that he's in.
Right.
So
Adult protection might need to be involved, and there's a couple other avenues that he might be able to pursue.
Services involved, and they checked him the day after he was released, but they were making sure he was eating, taking his medicine, doing his insulin, so he looked fine, and they closed the case.
Okay.
My son, the last 3 weeks, he's gone over there. He never takes his medicine. He never eats. He's lost over 12 pounds in 3 weeks. He hasn't showered in 3-4 weeks. My son's actually over there now.
He should take him to the hospital. He should take him back to the hospital and have him get reevaluated, and again gets placed from there, because it sounds like he's unsafe.
Is that something that people that are struggling should do right away, take people to hospital?
The hospitals would hate me for saying that, but if it's a crisis like it sounds like, yes. They are the best determinants of the condition. They don't want somebody to just bring them there and leave. Obviously, that's not the purpose of a hospital, but it sounds like in their circumstance, he's on the edge of a major crisis. So in this circumstance, yes, I would highly recommend that.
Well, I will tell you, when we're dealing with life and death situations, when you're dealing with somebody who's almost there but not quite there, just like what this lady was talking about, Patty was talking about her ex-husband, and nobody knows exactly what to do. It's wonderful to think that Elder Care of Western New York is there, and Roxanne Sorensen is there, and I will tell you, if you've listened to the show, you can see that this is a real important benefit that you can utilize, and all you have to do is give her a call. Roxanne's phone number is 823-1476, and I will tell you, as somebody that's doing being the caregiver for a couple of people in my life, it is very difficult to be the caregiver. You don't know what to do, and it all falls to you, and you want to do the right thing because you love people, right?
Right.
Yep.
Thank you for having me.
I can't thank you enough, Roxanne. Again, if you need Roxanne, her phone number is 823-1476, Elder Care of Western New York. And of course, if you need EG Tax, our website is egtax.com. And during the week, our office is open 9 to 5, Monday through Friday. If you're getting love letters, federal, state, we're there to help you. Until next week, I'm Esther Gullius, the tax lady, with Tiffany Fabian, Christopher Fabian, and of course, Roxanne Sorensen. Thanks, Roxanne. Have a great week. Bye-bye.